It was the week before I left for Blackthorn College. My parents had just moved to a crooked house on Wren Hollow Road. They called it downsizing, but I knew the truth. They wanted out of the old place. Said too many rooms there remembered us. This house felt wrong from the start. The kitchen smelled like plaster and wet coins. The hallways seemed longer at night. And Dad, during the tour, said one thing clear: no basement. Just a crawl space under the porch. Nothing down there but spiders. Then they left for a trip to Flat Top Lake, and I was alone. Tuesday night, tapping woke me beneath the floor. 3 knocks, a pause, then 3 more. I pressed my hand to the boards. They were so cold it burned. The knock answered back through the wood, deliberate as heartbeat. Wednesday night, the noise came earlier, louder. The air turned heavy, and under the blanket, the smell of pennies filled my mouth. Whispers bled up with the tapping, too faint to catch, but I could feel them in my teeth. Thursday, it escalated. Scraping, dragging, nails, no, claws, pulling slow across beams. The voices formed almost words. Some sounded like my parents calling from the kitchen, only they weren't home. I told Dad. He laughed, said it was critters, told me to check the crawl space. So I did. The hatch opened to black dirt, damp and slick, reeking of rust and mold. No animals, no nests, just silence. But the air sighed, like the ground itself was breathing. The next day, circling the house, I found it. A storm door. Hidden behind rotten boards and tarps stiff with mildew. Rusted, half painted over, like the house had tried to swallow it. I pried it open. A rush of air met me. Wet, cold, metallic. Concrete steps disappeared into black. I went down. The beam of my flashlight jittered over the walls. Tallies carved into beams. Hundreds, always in groups of 7. The deeper I walked, the worse the carvings grew. People with bent spines, faces peeled away. Animals opened like diagrams. And then, my initials carved into the chest of a boy-shaped figure. The light slipped from my hand, rolled across the dirt, landed on footprints, bare, wide, toes splayed too far apart, leading out of the wall itself, where the soil bulged like it had been pushed from the inside. That's when it spoke. Not whispers anymore, but a chorus. Dozens of voices, all straining in different pitches, all gasping through the same single word. Stay. From the corner, something pale shifted. Fingers too long, tipped with points sharpened by use, dragging furrows into the soil as it pulled itself free. And underneath the stink of copper and dirt, one more smell rose, something sweet and rancid, like meat gone bad in the sun. I ran. I chained the storm door shut with a heavy padlock, knuckles white around the key. At 2 a.m., the pounding began. Metal screamed in its hinges. Each slam shook dust from the ceiling. Then, silence. I almost believed it was over until I heard it, inside. Floorboards bending in the hallway. Slow, deliberate steps. I lay frozen in bed, listening as the footsteps creaked closer, past the bathroom, past the closet, stopping outside my door. The knob rattled, once, twice, then turned halfway before stopping. I couldn't breathe. My heartbeat was too loud. And then it whispered, my own voice perfectly, through the crack of the door. 7th. The knob clicked back into place. Silence. The air warmed as if whatever it was had retreated, but the smell of pennies lingered, thick enough to taste. The cops searched the next day, found nothing, said it was squatters. My parents came home early, told me I was imagining things, said the lock would hold. But I keep thinking about the tallies. Groups of 7, over and over. The last set had 6. The 7th wasn't on the wood. It was fresh in the dirt floor, waiting. And now, when I lie awake at college, sometimes I hear it. The same 3 knocks, faint beneath the dorm floor. It followed me. Or maybe the 7th mark wasn't for the basement at all. Maybe it was for me. I grew up in Split Tooth, Wyoming, 15 miles from the South Dakota line. Prairie country where the land rolls on forever, swallowing whatever it wants. This was before phones, back when what you saw stayed yours. No screenshots, no proof. It was the last week of August. The wind had that bite in it, the one that says summer's already dead. That morning, I passed a pale green sedan, nose toward the ditch, no hazards, no driver. I slowed, peered inside, empty. By evening, it was still there, but the driver's door gaped open like a scream that hadn't stopped. I called it in, non-emergency line. The dispatcher thanked me. Next day, the car was gone. I thought that was it, until the news said a man was missing. His car had been found. No foul play, they claimed. No witnesses. And I realized I might have been the only one who'd seen it when it mattered. I told my brother Michael, fire crew in Deadwood Bluff. He said the sheriff's office had a memo going around. Car found, man missing, search planned. I pressed to help, couldn't explain why, just felt hooked. Like that car had chosen me the moment I slowed down to look at it. 2 days later, I was in the scrub with deputies and off-duty firefighters combing ditches and thickets. Then a call came over the radio. Found something. We converged. It was a shack. Sunken into the dirt, weeds gripping its sides like they wanted to drag it under. From the highway, you'd never see it. The door sagged on its hinge. The lock had been snapped. Inside, stale air, wrappers, bottles, a blanket stiff with sweat. At first, it felt normal, like a place someone had squatted, but the longer we stood there, the less sense it made. The room stretched wrong. From the outside, the shack was the size of a tool shed. Inside, it kept going. Corners angled sharper than they should. Shadows clung in ways that didn't belong. The air grew heavy, like the walls were breathing. And then we saw the carvings. Tallies on the wood, running in groups of 7. Too many to count. Too many for the years this shack should have been standing. Someone muttered that the tallies were fresh, still flaking wood. One firefighter pointed at the back wall. That's when we saw the hole. Small, sharp, splintered edges, a bullet hole. Only it wasn't just a hole. The wood around it was wet, seeping, not with rainwater, darker, thicker. When I leaned close, I swear I heard it whisper, like breath being sucked through a mouth that wasn't there, and behind it, movement, not outside, inside the wall itself. Michael yanked me back, hard enough to bruise, his face pale, his jaw locked. That's when the deputies started whispering into their radios, their voices low, careful, like they didn't want whatever was listening to hear them. Then they turned to us, faces stiff, told us we needed to clear out, now, civilians first, firefighters next. By sundown, the shack belonged only to them. Weeks passed. The story dried up. The news stopped. Michael's contacts wouldn't say a word. So I went back, parked where we'd started, walked until the sun bled into the hills. No shack, but I remembered it, every wrong angle, every tally carved too fresh. The bullet hole that seeped, and yet the land was smooth, untouched. The wind through the grass whispered like voices, almost like laughter. Every August, when the air sharpens, I think of that car, that shack, that bullet hole bleeding in the dark. But lately, I hear it closer. The creak of a car door in my driveway, the hush of footsteps in my yard. Once at 3 a.m., I looked out the window and saw it. The shack. not where it had been before, but here, in my field, sunken, crooked, waiting. I blinked, and it was gone. The next morning, I found a fresh hole in my garage siding, clean, sharp, damp at the edges. When I told Michael, he just said, "Don't talk about it. Not this time of year." Like he already knew. Like they all know. The shack isn't abandoned. It isn't built. It moves. It feeds. The car is just the bait. The missing man is just the price. And the first one to see it? That's the one it comes for next. This year, it's me. Next year, maybe you'll be the one driving by. Last August, out past the shuttered towns along the Powderhorn Divide, I went alone into the woods. My dad used to drag me and my brother out there every August, end of summer ritual. Sleeping bags, cheap lanterns, the smell of pine pitch. Now I'm older, 30, with a girlfriend who hates camping. So I keep the tradition myself. I don't go to campgrounds, no RVs, no kids running. I find spots on satellite maps that look like nobody's touched them in years. Places that don't want me there. That year, I picked a clearing in Black Root Forest. Flat ground, sky wide enough for stars. A place that felt wrong in the quiet. First night was fine. Fire, trout sizzling in foil, the air so still it felt like I was underwater. The second night, I misjudged daylight. Coming back from the river, the woods swallowed the sun and left me with nothing but a weak headlamp. That's when I saw it. A faint light ahead. Swinging side to side. Lantern, flashlight, whatever. At first I was glad, someone else out there, maybe another camper. Then I remembered, there aren't supposed to be people here. I called out, friendly, careful. The light froze, hung still, then it winked out. And the woods exploded to my left, like something big was crashing through at full speed. Not toward me, not away, just moving wrong. By the time I reached camp, my legs were shaking. The silence that followed felt heavier than the crashing. That night, I woke to a zipper sound, my own tent flap half open under my hand. Moonlight washed the clearing, and there it was, 15 feet out, a figure, still as a dead tree, facing me. I couldn't see its face, couldn't tell if it was man, woman, or something wearing the outline of one. I grabbed my knife, shouted. It ran at me. The scream that came with it wasn't right. Human, but bent wrong, pitched through a throat that wasn't built for sound. It hit me like a truck, nails tearing at my face, not fists, just nails, like it wanted to dig me out of myself. I slashed, wild, caught its hand. Hot blood sprayed. It shrieked, a noise halfway between laughter and pain, and then it bolted, crashing into the trees, the scream unraveling through the woods until it was gone. I sat on the ground, bleeding, holding the knife like a crucifix, waiting for it to come back. The sun rose, and I packed without breathing. Hiked out fast, eyes burning holes in every tree trunk. Didn't call the cops. What would I say? A thing that might have been a man, but wasn't came for me in the woods? On the drive home, I realized I didn't know whose blood was on me, mine or its. It's been a year. I haven't camped since. But here's the part I can't stop thinking about. If it was a man, that means someone had been out there, watching me, tracking me, waiting for me to unzip my tent. And that scream, it means his mind was already gone, twisted into something animal. If it wasn't a man, then I cut something open that should never bleed. Both answers are worse than the other, because some nights, when the air sharpens, I hear the scream again. Not in the woods, not far, closer. Last week I found a handprint on my kitchen window, a smear of dried blood across the glass. The print was too long, fingers stretched too far, and it was on the inside. That same night, just before sleep, I heard it. The sound that split my nights in the woods. The slow rasp of a zipper coming from the foot of my bed.